Hiya! Welcome back, episode 3.
Video Namaste.
That's pretty good. I was getting right fucking
Totally, we were in the
sunk into
pocket
that.
there, man. We need to get
That
onto
was us
this.
in sync.
We are Hugh and Cry and the other guy. Let's see,
Rita Sue and Bob too. Just a wee British shagging film.
Oh, aye. I'm against the law. What are we talking about?
Was that the one that guy does for how to?
That's how. For now. Oh no, it's one of them.
Aye.
Because it's a wee bit
Racist.
racist.
Oh dear. Oh no, not how to.
Anything but how to.
Just don't look back. Just keep looking forward.
Totally. No rear view mirror. Just it can only be bad.
Just kick them off. Just keep driving, son. It's like your own speed film. Just keep going.
That's the secret of life. So what we talking about today?
So, today we invite you to look behind the curtain of films.
Of the cinematic
Films.
legacy
And
of
we
certain films.
are looking at films about making films, behind the scenes films. So far we've looked at Tilt Bookie.
Full tilt boogie.
Full Tilt
Tilt
Bookie.
boogie.
Full tilt bookie.
Give my show up, son.
That's 50 grand on Mary's horse.
That's a full tilt bookie, him.
So full tilt boogie.
Full Tilt Boogie. And we've looked at More Brains, the
More
return
Brains.
to Return of the Living Dead.
Yep.
And we've saved a wee stoter for last time.
Absolutely.
A wee creamer, a wee Christmas, a wee custard creamer.
Oh, aye. A wee
Christmas
Foxy's
creamer.
classic.
Oh, it's like when you get a donut and you're like, oh, that's nice, and you bite into it and it's got jam in the inside.
Oh,
And it just,
but you've no bit into the right jammy bit first. You've just got a wee flavour of what's waiting for you at the last bite.
you're like,
Sometimes it comes out and goes in your chin and you have to scoop it up with your finger.
at the traffic lights at Whitburn Cross.
I've had £3 £60 fines because of that.
Then you have to lick your finger and then rub your chin because it's all
Because you
sticky.
feel it's all matted. It's all matted, your beard.
I know,
You're
my
like,
beard
"Ah."
just ends up like fucking Rob Zombie's arse.
Or note it
Aye.
like an Alsatian's.
Do you know my dream for this episode to be is for Richard Stanley to watch it
Oh, I know.
and just
I'm
be like,
pausing on Facebook.
Can we just say, we love you. We fucking love you.
I'm going to preface this with like how much I love Richard Stanley.
Aye,
I
no,
love
a
him
genuine
to-
love
to
for
death.
you.
But aye,
I just meant from the point of view of
I was talking gibberish.
about donuts.
The mist these young boys put in the little eyes.
So
Is that Ringo Starr? We've had a very good gig voice.
Cinders and ashes.
Thomas was very cross.
Lost Soul, The Doomed Journey of Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Moreau. Another documentary that proves people from Hollywood just shouldn't go into the jungle. Brando, Kilmer, Sheen, the entire cast of Congo. They're just not cut out for it. Not enough martinis out there for them, or martinis, or
It's an interesting story, but just to start off with, one of the things that makes it interesting is that The Island of Dr. Moreau is a film that's not very well remembered or received by a lot of people. So for a start, it's interesting that there would even be an in-depth making of documentary about it. But to take it to, because we've been talking about different types of behind the scenes, and one behind the scenes type that can be quite interesting is the disaster story. Which there are a few. I mean, a lot of them will usually, you know, there'll be a resolution at the end that everyone's usually generally happy with. Like if you say, look at the Alien 3 one or something,
Aye.
or then you've got ones like Lost in La Mancha.
Basically any Terry Gilliam film. Like,
Yeah, Chris,
good boy, man.
But
I'm just making a cup of coffee. Lumpy butter in it and fucking some pepper, and he's like, fuck, you may be tea.
But this is one of the best stories of a doomed film, because it really is
amazing.
fucking
There's
doomed.
some absolutely wild shit in there as well.
Just the constant new story, and like when you hear like the first 20 to 30 minutes of this film, you're like, this is nuts, and all the cast are like, and that's when it started getting bad. You're like, holy fuck! It's like that's when it started getting bad. It's like, how the fuck? How many? So
if you look at the Island of Dr. Moreau, it's credited as being directed by
John Frankenheimer. Yes, who's like a rough and tough, like,
Now fuck you, act.
And the first thing you'll notice when you watch Lost Souls is that the director is Richard Stanley.
Yes.
He's a bit of an eccentric filmmaker. He's made some.
like,
I've never. I'm going to have to confess, I've never seen them, and I really haven't seen the clips in Lost Souls. I'd really like to see Hardware.
You'd fucking love Hardware. Everybody would watch Hardware. It's an amazing dystopian sci-fi horror thriller. It's got a Ministry song at the start, so
I really do love like Richard Stanley a lot. Like I love Hardware. I've got like a Hardware poster, and I've got like the German hardbox for Hardware and Dust Devil, his other film. But just as a person, he's so interesting as a person. Like all the commentaries on they two as well. The two films are incredible. He's basically like a shaman. He talks like he's almost like shamanic. He's like basically like a child of the cosmos. He knows a lot about indigenous tribes and knowledge of history. Like it feels like he's got such a
He's a really well-read and fascinating guy.
He's got such a breadth of like the mystical nature of humans, and the way that he speaks, it comes across as that. Like he doesn't just speak about. He wouldn't just say, "Oh, Ellie's changed since I've been back." He would say like the fabric of the city's changed, and it's like due to the tides of time through technology and that. Like he speaks like he's like 1,000-year-old. Like he speaks like a wizard.
Everything that comes out totally, it's like an excerpt for a book.
But it's so interesting, and he's got such a unique vision, even in the things that he speaks about, but the way that he lives his life, and like the fact that he lives up a mountain now. He lives up in Montsegur, which and like I've listened to a few things with him on it, and he can talk about the full history of Montsegur, like how it was part of like the old Catholic Crusades and stuff like that. Like he can tell you all about this, and he knows it all. Like he was there basically. He's such an intelligent dude, and he's endlessly fascinating to me, like because it's all the things that I like, and he's like a massive just reeking industrial goth fan. Like he just looks like he looks like the fucking lead singer for the Fields of Nephilim. So I'm like, just give me a big kiss. And he directed Preacher Man. I think he directed a couple of them. I think he directed, is it Summerland or Summer something?
Well, that's it. He's kind of come from a bit of a music video background as well, but you can't tell that, because you can always tell that with some directors, like even like Fincher to a certain extent. You can tell he's like, because there's something bred into his style that's like that translates into his features, but I don't get that with Richard Stanley. Maybe in terms of like a lot of the themes that he looks at and stuff like that, there's consistencies there, but like even in his like he made a short as part of an anthology called Theatre Bazaar, was it?
Mother of Toads.
Mother of Toads. So we watched that, and the anthology was fucking
rotten.
It was bins.
The guy that directed Lost Souls done a segment in Theatre Bazaar.
That was actually one of the only ones that was alright. Actually,
really
and like that was another reason that he got the job, was because just based on how fascinating he is, because it's true, it's like anything he says, you're just like. You're fully engaged.
He's an oddball and he's totally eccentric, but there's something about that's so like magical about him, and hearing him, you're like, man, I bet you like he dominates anything that he's in or any table conversations that he's in, but it's just because he's so fucking interesting and he's seen and done so much. But I like the early stuff, his vision of Dr. Moreau is wild as fuck.
Sincerely believed that if Wells was alive now, he would write it differently. There's no way that Wells now would set the story in 1895. Plainly, the story would be set in the present. It's not a story about the past, but it's about the near future.
The images, the first one we produced was actually an image of Dr. Moreau with a newborn creature. One of the lamps actually looked like a sort of halo around his head. So the whole point was to almost sort of play on the whole Virgin and baby Jesus kind of image.
The dogmen are not entirely obeying his orders, because we can see behind Moreau's back some of the dogmen are actually licking the blood off the surgical instruments. And way in the background of the tank we see a big three-eyed, intelligent Cthulhuoid type octopus thing. There are going to be sea creatures as well.
There's one theme that ties all these together, and it's the transition for small budget or independent filmmaking into the mainstream. And like
because
each
this was a
film,
massive new line film,
huge, and like the amount of money that went into this in particular though was a lot bigger. But the connection with like indie filmmaking is Richard Stanley. Like he had come from making Dust Devil. And like the thing is, like that was Minimax, and he made that for Minimax and stuff. But then again, it's like still small studio, you know what I mean? It's no New Line, it's no millions and millions of dollars. And I think like that's why films like Hardware and everything worked, because it was small scale and he could manage that. I don't think it was stress. I think it was his own anxieties, and dealing with all these people and the confrontation and like just the volume of people.
Plus like the studio as well, because like all his ideas and like his concepts that him and Graham Humphreys worked on, like the stuff that the visions that he had and that he was going to try and bring it looked amazing. Like see the stuff where it's like the dogmen have like delivered a baby,
and
it's like
the blood off
it's
the
like
blade
they're like
and
letting the
that,
blood off the blade, but like Dr. Moreau is basically perceived as like Jesus or God, and then it shows you that one and it's like there's like dogmen and baboon men and all that, like who are running about like New York. There's like dogmen police, and there's like
the stuff that got me imagining.
It's like
that
it's like
like,
so he was going to update it, but then Hollywood or the big studio, basically New Line, says no, we just want to do like the island thing. We don't want to contemporize it. So he's like, well, I've got hundreds of ideas for that, like dog kangaroo thing, like giving birth and shit like that, and like how he had originally envisaged like Dr. Moreau was got to be fucking half these animals because he'd been on that island for so long, and like how at one point like he was got to be having sex with the pig woman, was it? And she like at the end of it she was got to bite his dick off and stuff like that. Like he had all this
it's funny
stuff.
It's funny hearing him watching him talk about that sort of stuff, because every so often he'll come out with an idea that he knows wouldn't have.
Like when he's talking, because
he knows as well. It's got that kind of Louis Theroux thing where he's talking. He's like
dead sly, because there's like a bit where he's talking about like he's got to have sex with a panther woman. But he doesn't know that she's the panther woman, but he starts like working down her nipples, and then he finds like the second, third and fourth set, because she was like like what would you call it, like no one heat, but masticating or what? No, it's not masticating. I can't remember what it is, but he just keeps finding more nipples as he goes down, and the guy's like, oh my god, this is like a panther woman, and then he starts getting like involved and addicted to having sex with the animals that he was creating, like the humanoid animals. It's like, I want to see that so fucking much. And when you see his other two films, thinking how he would make that and how it would look and work out and the things it would ask, I think it could have just been so fucking cool and insane.
And the thing is, at first there was a lot of money and backing there. In fact, no backing. There wasn't like the first time. Like there's this hilarious moment for me when the executive of New Line, Bobby Shea, is talking about. I know he does. He looks old now. Man. Anyway, like he's talking about Richard Stanley. He's like, I knew this guy wasn't alright when he came in and he asked for 4 sugars in his tea.
Oh, that's right.
There was 4 sugars in his coffee. He's like,
you can't trust anybody that takes 4 sugars in the coffee.
He's like, nobody walks out having 4 sugars in their coffee, a normal citizen.
I know, and then it's like that double dunt as well, because he starts talking Skip about invisible mending and that.
Like Skip the Warlock, the high ground warlock. So
let's set this up. So it's like somehow Marlon Brando gets involved.
No, they got to, it's New Line, because it's I can't mind his name. It's the other guy that runs fucking New Line. It's no Bob Shea. It's like Mike DeLuca. Is it DeLuca? It's DeLuca, because he's talking. DeLuca like wants to have Brando on board, even though they knew that Brando was a pain in the arse. So they were like, why is he doing this? So they think that DeLuca was just doing it just to kind of either get back at somebody within New Line and just to fuck with these people to be like, let's see how this goes.
So it's already, they set up a meeting with Richard Stanley. Richard Stanley's been told that Brando's going to go through him, like, because that's what he does with everyone. So he contacted
his pal,
who's a warlock.
He's a High Grand Warlock.
Imagine having a pal that's a fucking warlock.
Skip the High Grand Warlock, who says cut his arm, no, gathered his cover and cut his arm, drew a sigil, and like sort of tried to help the meeting along.
Knowing that the odds were stacked against me, I resorted to witchcraft. At that point in time, I was friendly with this warlock chappie in England, Dr. Edward James Featherstone, commonly known as Skip. So Skip had been shown to demonstrate his ability to fix things, to do invisible mending before. So I said, my God, Skip, you've got to help me. You've got to save my movie. At the exact same time that I went into the meeting on the other side of the world, Skip convened his coven, cut his arm, drew a sigil, and did some kind of routine to fix it and make it all right.
It was a blood ritual, like.
It was a blood ritual.
And he went to see Marlon Brando and got on really, really well with him.
But that's
Marlon Brando put his secretary or whatever to sleep with the heat. And he was like, I don't know if it was because he had the heat that she fell asleep or if it was because he skips magic, but whatever it was, she fell asleep, and as soon as she fell asleep, Brando just opened up to me and was talking about all this stuff.
And it is amazing the way, it's like, whether or not you believe in any of that, it's like, there's a nice kind of way around the actual unfolding.
And even when it talks about Skip again, and he's like, Skip testing his power, or no, when Skip got no well, and he was like, because he was like, Skip got no well, he got a bone infection or something, and he had to go to hospital, and it undone all the stuff that he'd done.
Back in London, Skip, the Sufi warlock who had first fixed the whole thing for me during the Brando meeting, he was a pretty brilliant biochemist. Skip believed that the clay wall in his laboratory had been too thin and that he'd accidentally become irradiated during his experiments. But what happened was that his bones started to crumble. One morning, his hip dislocated, his leg literally popped out of the socket. In hospital, when they operated, he then caught necrotizing fasciitis, this flesh-eating parasite. During that time, every single one of Skip's fixes came undone. Over in Ireland, when I phoned my mother to tell her what was going on, her house had just been struck by lightning. 3 fireballs had rolled through the lounge. One jumped into the telephone, one jumped into the hi-fi system, and she says the other went out the cat door. Shortly before, the next-door neighbours claimed they saw a hyena run across the road. Again, a hyena in Ireland doesn't make any kind of sense. I noticed the first time that the accommodation where we were staying had hyena print wallpaper. The wallpaper was all kind of looking at me with a hungry kind of look in its eye.
It doesn't build Richard Stanley up to be like, oh, this is all about him and he was the greatest and oh dear, like it's such an injustice. Like, it does show that Richard Stanley had a lot going on that he was fallible for. Like, he wasn't showing up to meetings because he was.
Because that was it. The first thing they did is they put him in a bit of town. It was really difficult to get to the meetings.
Because he couldn't drive.
So they were having meetings without him.
And he was getting paranoid about that. And then when they were on location, he wasn't going for production meetings or anything like that. He was holding himself up in his room because he was getting too under pressure.
And drawing pictures of what he wanted and then just handing them out.
I know, getting crew instructions, just drawing like sort of storyboards and handing them out to people and saying like, there's
which is a shame because it's obviously just a guy's anxiety, you know. It's like but like sometimes you just don't have that the tools, you know, for such a film.
You can imagine all of a sudden you're in charge of just millions.
That pressure must be
millions and millions, and trying to work with Val Kilmer.
Like, man, as much as I'm in love with Val Kilmer, like, I know especially at this time in his career, he's just the biggest arsehole. Like, he just lives inside himself. Like, I've heard rumours of people saying it goes back all the way to, is it Top Secret? He's in, like, straight to his first film, basically. He's like that. But at this time, he's like peak. They're
it's
like,
just after Batman Forever.
They're like just after Batman Forever and just after Heat. So it's like, and Thunderheart too. So it's like, he's just now at the peak of his fame. He's the ultimate leading man, and all he just wants to do is just see what he can get away with. Like a bad Wayne. Like, say if you like send your Waynes to stay with like your sister, it's like we would.
The story of, is it the camera op or something and he's burning his hair with a cigarette?
It's like the guy's sideburns were too wispy and Val Kilmer's just sitting like beside him with the thing and just burning them away.
I seen this documentary at Fright Fest.
All right, okay.
And there was like a Q&A and stuff like that with the director, and he was there and he was talking a lot about like there was
Did they try to get Kilmer?
Yeah,
right. Okay.
This is what the this is what really got me even more into this film, because I fucking loved it. It was one of the best films of that whole festival.
Yeah.
And then I was talking about like the actual making of it and stuff, and like how he tried to get Kilmer involved, and Kilmer's people were like just stonewalling him, and like just it's not happening. And then Kilmer eventually got back through someone else and was just like I've got lawyers keeping an eye on things and stuff like that apparently.
Oh, wow.
And like he was saying the chat about the getting the fag and burning the guy's sides. He's like, I don't think that's going to make general release. I was like, I think I'm seeing something fucking exclusive. And there was some other stuff that was in there that wasn't in the Netflix film, and I'm so annoyed that I can't fucking remember them. But I'm guessing like when a physical copy comes out, it'll be on that. But because the lawyers were like, nope, you can't.
I think when the physical copy comes out, there's got to be. Well, I think it's out, but I've not got it. But I'm sure there's an extra few things with David Thewlis in it, because he's not in the documentary at all. But he's obviously in the film. But I think they managed to get a wee bit out of David Thewlis and a wee bit more out of Rob Morrow as well, who was on set for like 4 days, and then he was out stranded on that boat when there was a storm, and he was just like screaming like to Bob Shea on the phone, "Get me off this fucking island! This is mental." Yeah, well, that's something that we should talk about. The fact that when they changed the Metropolis setting to the island, they were just stranded. Basically, they had all this money, and the crew and everybody had nothing to do for literally weeks on end. Folk were just, there was shagging, there was getting off, all the usual. They were just like
lots of drug use.
Lots of drugs, like.
But they were all getting paid.
They were all getting paid, so
they were all
like,
getting
that's
paid
what that means.
She was
fucking like one of the boys gets like a Skeletrix track in there.
Like she was, because the main pig woman was like, I was meant to be there for like 3 to 4 weeks. I was there for 6 months.
And
getting paid daily,
getting high in that.
She was like, it was brilliant. We just got stoned constantly. It's like, it's like that's what you do. But a lot of this, especially the extras had a great time. They were like, we weren't getting directed that much. We just got to party like fuck all the time, because by the time Richard Stanley got kicked off, like, how many fucking stories can you even tell for this apart from just saying, just watch it? It's like by the time Richard Stanley got kicked off, and then by the time that guy drove for Roosevelt across the country, you're like, that's just 2 wee bits.
I don't want to go into too much as to just relaying what.
But there's the way that they tell, especially the way that they tell the stories about how difficult each person was. They don't really like vilify them. Like they don't say like Marlon Brando was a fucking arsehole. They're just like, this is what happened.
This is what
and it's there's no leanings to any way. Apart from maybe with Val, because they're like, but that's because Val was just a grade A arsehole. Brando was like seeing what he could get away with, whereas Val was just like making demands unironically.
Well. Yeah, seeing like how some things end up on screen, because like when you watch films, like certainly a few years ago, a good few years ago, I would have thought that everything that ends up on a film is there on purpose, is there for a reason. It was like intrinsically planned from the beginning, but like you soon learn watching any of these behind the scenes things, it's like a lot of it's just improvisation and stuff like that, and some of it is just somebody fucking about, seeing how much they can get away with, like Marlon Brando with that fucking ice tin in his head, and like that is amazing, and like having Nelson, wee Nelson,
wee Shagger,
we have Nelson. See when he's getting the full body cast, and they just fucking
they just lift him up. He's like the world's smallest man, and they hire him. The thing is, see his prosthetics. I really like his prosthetics. It's great, and you can tell that was against
Stanley's vision coming through.
But he's like really mutated, because he's like half human, half animal of some sort. But do you know what he is?
I don't know.
Oh,
I can't mind. But it's like I like all that stuff. I think that's correct. But like then obviously when Frankenheimer comes in, it's just like.
Oh well, he's done well for himself, because he's basically said, I want a 3-picture deal if I wrap this up. But one of the things that I quite like is how at the beginning of the film, so he's talking about Island of Dr. Moreau, and how H.G. Wells fell out with is it Joseph Conrad who wrote Heart of Darkness?
Yes.
About how the story was quite similar to Heart of Darkness, and then as the story of how Island of Dr. Moreau was being made, the behind the scenes turns into this fucking weird Heart of Darkness. Like this weird adaptation of Heart of Darkness, where like Richard Stanley's he was supposed to leave and he'd done a runner, and he's hiding in the woods taking drugs.
Taking drugs and fishing at an apple fair.
It is really interesting because you're just like, shit, this is turning into its own
version of what it's mirroring. It's like it keeps mirroring it, and that's the other fascinating thing about how basically Richard Stanley's like great granddad was the inspiration for Kurtz in fucking Heart of Darkness. Holy fuck, this goes like that's
it's so I know
it's so deep, you know.
And
then Richard Stanley at the end,
the guy making the documentary must have just been like,
this is fucking
you see
great.
that stuff coming together and you're just like, shit, that's
magic.
That's really good.
But then when obviously, like, I love that story when somebody comes on set and is like, there's a guy at an apple fair up the road and he's talking about how Val Kilmer's ruined his life. And they're like, hold on a fucking minute. They're like, that's Richard! He's been missing for months. And they go and get him and they sneak him back on set as one of the Doug people.
It got so hot when we were working. So I was trying to give them breaks as often as I could. And they would pull the head back and drink some water. And there was this guy, one of them, that was never doing it. I kept watching him. And he would never take his head off. And I thought, well, that guy's nuts, you know. I was starting to think, well, he's going to just die.
Out of 300 extras in this tent, like Richard's the only one who hasn't taken his mask off.
He was the bulldog man, and he did this great job of jumping around and doing this weird stuff. And I went to him and I said, no, it was really great. Thank you. I really enjoyed watching you. It was a nice job. And he said, oh, thank you. And he had a completely different accent than anybody else. And then I started to wonder.
Something that this film really, really captures is that nobody cares. Like a huge amount of people involved just stopped caring about it, which is nuts considering the amount of fucking money that was behind it too.
When Ferruza was talking to Brando about their character relationships, and he's like,
yeah,
don't worry about it.
That's what we've got to get back to.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's cool, we've got there. Like, that's what I was talking about earlier. It's like, that's how he feels about the industry. He's like, we're all getting paid. Just fucking do what you want.
But see, the thing is, like, I've read more into it, and see that stuff in Brando showing up with like the white face.
Yeah.
That was a conversation between Brando and Richard Stanley, like when they were first talking about it. Oh, Danny, I think you've got to be.
Thanks, man.
There you go. I was wanted. That was a conversation they first had with each other because Brando's idea for Moreau was he was got to be completely covered in black, but with a white face. And Richard Stanley was like, that's too much like Apocalypse Now. I think we need to go the other way. And then they spoke about how Dr. Moreau looked at this. I don't think they mentioned it in the documentary. How Dr. Moreau looked at society, changing it in a different way. So he's like, instead of us trying to fix the ozone layer, why do we adapt the human body just to deal with the radiation and sort of mutate the melatonin? So he was like, and that's why he wears whiteface. It's basically like to try and reflect the sun and to experiment on himself and see if that helps him be less irradiated from the world around him and all that. So it's like, that's really fucking interesting. But they don't do that, and they don't tell you that in the film. It's just like, he's just showing up with that because he's if he's not.
Well, been on his head.
It's like, man, even that would be a nice strand to work with, but Frankenheimer he was basically a gun for hire.
Well, that's the thing, he was notoriously hard, and like that's why they brought him on.
I love these impressions of him.
Actually, the Dr. Moreau set is like really impressive.
It's that's what I'm saying. Like when people call it a terrible film, it's the same thing as like Alien 3. It's like, because it's not up to your standards, but like it's a mess, but it's robust as fuck, and it's still got a lot of interesting things going on.
I
feel like I think
it's really disjointed. And
it is a fucking mess, but in terms of it being like totally like the worst film ever made.
That's like, it's a load of pish. Like, I think when you look at worst films, it's like
I just went full that. It's a load of pish.
It's a load of pish, right? Listen, the Scottish team. The Scottish team, they're all old, they're too old, we need the young laddies in, they can only come up for the academies, so we need to start funding the academies better, get better scouts.
It's like when my stepdad finished, got to the end of Donnie Darko, load of pish. I was like, and I went, what happened? He was a prick.
He's a fud.
Anyway, sorry. Continue.
Where the fuck was I? I've totally. So if you're wanting to look at like what makes a film terrible, I think is any film that you just don't enjoy watching. That simply, right? You watch a film like that, and I did enjoy watching it for the fact that it was a huge curio. You're like, fuck me, but I was still entertained enough, and it was like, I think the worst thing for a bad film for me is if something drags and I get bored and I just don't care. Like that's the worst thing any film can do, but that doesn't. So I think for that reason, Island of Dr. Moreau isn't necessarily a bad film. It's interesting. It's still interesting enough to engage you, you know. But
96 minutes. I was just wondering, like,
it's near the sweet spot as well.
Also, here's a wee bit of behind the scenes footage for you right here. We're propping these up on fucking spice jars.
It's the June episode.
The cumin has awoken.
Like I watched Lost Souls before. Bizarrely enough, I watched it before seeing Island of Dr. Moreau, and it was interesting. It was interesting to watch it after watching the film. Well, of course, like I watched Lost Souls months ago, and then for this I watched Dr. Moreau yesterday, and then watched the Lost Souls directly after it. But it's interesting to watch a film it's interesting to get the story of how much of a mess something was, and then watching something like that, because then you get this slight sense of being impressed that they managed to
make what they did.
Yeah.
You're still looking for like the sort of like the stretches and the seams during the film once you know that, but they still managed to crack out a totally perfunctory film, I guess. It's just not the best.
It's just this, like, you can tell that there's a total like jarring concepts and themes.
You can tell,
tones.
Like the main character of the film was a bit of a
and that's because Val wanted a lot of that. So Val basically like just stole Hunter's it. Why is Val
not the main character?
Because he still wanted to be like the wee helper, like he still wanted to have that cool job.
Yeah.
But he wanted to have a lot more parts, so he basically just stole hundreds of stuff and made it up out himself.
Right.
But I was reading a thing where Richard Stanley says that they didn't mention it in Lost Soul, which is nuts. But the reason why he was finally kicked off the set was because Val Kilmer asked him for a treehouse, and he says, "I'm not building. I'm not making you a treehouse, Val." And Val was like, "Fine, see you later on." And Val went and spoke to his folk, and then they just. Like the no confidence for the executive producers, plus the nightmare that Val was, they just fucking
not getting any support. Usually, you've got staff on a film to deal with Val Kilmer, but instead it sounded like what was happening was that he was trying to do his job, and Val Kilmer just kept turning up and saying things like,
"Nah,
you're doing it wrong.
Aye,
you're not very good."
Just knocking his confidence as well. Like, that's the shittest
you're
thing.
Already like you're already under insane pressure of dealing with a massive budget and people expecting like millions of dollars return and all that sort of stuff.
And then you just see like one of the biggest egos in the world at the time.
Yeah.
Maybe apart from Prince and Marlon Brando. Like, imagine if Prince was in this. Imagine Prince was in that.
Playing a panther woman.
With like a wee crushed velvet waistcoat and with gold buttons.
9 nipples hanging out.
So I was dealing with like Val and Brando, but Val was obviously the worst. But you're not getting any help for even your actors. Like they're no caring about the story. They don't give a fuck about the group effort. They don't give a fuck about the art or the vision. They're there to get paid, and they just want to see what they can get away because they can, and they know that they're that big.
It was a bit of a sort of perfect storm of like just bad luck.
And you feel for Firuza Balk as well, because like she's on there and she believed in like that was a really interesting arc for me that I latched onto, the fact that she believed in it and she was fighting for it and she campaigned to leave set and stuff like that, and like
she like loved him. She was like, he's like my good pal. Totally. This is great.
You know, when you get really, really hurt like that, you're so gun shy about ever putting yourself in that kind of a position again. I saw him in London a couple years later, and I remember him saying, "I don't know if I'll ever make another movie again. I don't think I will. I can't even bear the idea of being behind a camera. it makes me want to scream.
See the director in the Q&A, he was talking about how he got her on board. Like, she makes candles now. Like, she's got her own candle shop and that. And he just emailed her.
Get me in there.
I know, man.
I know, man. Imagine what that smells like. Like brand new sambas.
He emailed her through her company website, through the candle making website, and then she was just like, sound, I'll get on board, because obviously she wanted to support
you're good. Tell
Richard,
the story
like,
about what...
and that's, I think, what this documentary achieves best is, like we were saying earlier, like, it lets you know what could have been, and like, if only it was managed better, it really could have been close to it. It would never have been the exact vision.
It lets him finally come across to the industry and explain himself and explain his side of the story.
It must be like a nice bit of, I don't know if it'd be closure, but it'd certainly be.
Oh, aye.
But did you say to me that he's ready to work again?
He's when Lost Souls came back, when Lost Souls came out, the documentary, he was talking about doing his vision of the island of Dr. Moreau as a 3-volume comic.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But there's not been anything coming of that. But I know now that he's working on, can't mind what it is. It's a Cthulhu film. He's working on a Lovecraft film. Okay. He's been working on it for a wee while, but
like I wonder if something like Lost Souls would be the sort of thing that would help
him come
build
back
someone's
in.
confidence.
Well, it's basically because for years he was ostracised through the industry. His name was fucking like nothing. That's why he fucked off to live up in the French Pyrenees for 20 years. But now this is him. It finally it makes him come across as a good guy, because he doesn't ever go, oh, this person was a fucking dickhead, or he wasn't bitter. He's just explains it.
He could have easily been
awful.
Not even bitter.
Because I would have been like, fuck these dicks, man. No, he's just like, that's how it was. It was rubbish.
The worst thing about something, if you're in charge of something like that as well, in a story like that, all that matters in filmmaking is the end product. And if the end product's falling apart or whatever, then that's what people remember. There's no way to explain.
Yep. It's like so many directors on podcasts and that talk about director jail, going to director jail because you've made a you made a great film but there's no return on it, things like that. So it's like it's a common phrase in the industry, but you think about how like
it's the same with like
daft that is. Like, one single person is accountable for a film involving literally hundreds of people, sometimes hundreds of people.
It's like actors talk about that as well, if they're in something really bad and then the phone just stops ringing for...
It's nuts, but it's
all about brand, isn't it?
There's still like a million things you could speak about with Lost Souls. Like, you could go into every story, or how just each person's individual interactions with both Richard Stanley and John Frankenheimer is just so interesting to listen to, because you're like, nobody give a fuck.
Yeah, no, it's definitely... it's good. Like, I think the thing I love about Lost Souls is that it then brings this, because it's such an interesting story, it gives you a reason to watch Island of Dr. Moreau. Because like, you just wouldn't. So
but you want to see,
but like, now you've got this really, like, just anyone that's interested in filmmaking at all, like, obviously Lost Souls, nobody's like, we wanted the definitive Island of Dr. Moreau documentary. That's not what nobody wanted that. Nobody was asking for it. But obviously this film, what's the name of the guy who directed it?
David Gregory.
So David Gregory's obviously found this incredible story and wanted to tell that, but what's happened is you've got a surprisingly interesting film about a film that you just wouldn't even think twice about.
Yeah, and about a filmmaker who's been long gone, and who if he had made this his Island of Dr. Moreau, could have been making some incredible films.
I tell you what would be amazing.
Imagine like an early 2000s Richard Stanley monster film.
I know. Do you know? I was just going to say, like, imagine Netflix gave money for some, like, because they're really good for giving time and freedom to folk. That'd be great. Basically, because this documentary,
without giving them like without big pressure, like small crimes, like he got the money for Netflix basically to finish it. Yeah. And there was no pressure on him, and he got it done, put it out. It was an exclusive on Netflix, and it was
within budget, within time.
Also, indie is now a really great place for genre cinema, because there's there's very little, like with, as long as you've got time, there's very little that you can't do.
That's it.
Totally, and like something that
Time and skill, sorry.
Aye, just millennial Johnny Chimpo doing it. Keyword roundup.
Yeah, no, it's
Keyword
we're going
roundup.
to do a keyword roundup, as we've mentioned in previous parts. There's no keywords for these films, so
2 minutes.
Finley's going to do it. Finley's made up his own ones.
Keyword roundup. Number 1, Bob Shear's neck. 2, ice bucket hat. 3, apple farm. 4, deified scientist. 5, angry man. 6, side burns. Number 7, wee man dancing. Number 8, pig smoking a joint. And number 9, Irish hyena. And what could number 10 be? Number 10 could be...
Hi-fi fireballs.
Hi-fi fireballs. There we go.
Nice.
So there you go. Thank you.
Right, well, yeah, immediately jump onto Netflix and watch Lost Souls, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
And find a copy of Island of Dr. Moreau to double bill
If
it
you
with.
feel so inclined. If you've got a copy of a Laserdisc from New York, then go for it.
One round mine, we'll watch. No, we won't. I'll chuck you out. If you even suggest it.
Wow.
So, that wraps it up for behind the scenes films on Video Namaste, but we'll be back with your feedback in Video Namaste special features, which is next. And we're going to talk to you
Like Sonic Youth.
We're going to talk to you guys about behind the scenes films. So watch out for that. Right, bye. Bye.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Bye.
In one version, we had the thought of the pig lady biting Montgomery's dick off during the final party.